while they sleep, the children will be abducted, abused, and potentially trafficked. That's what's happening at the border. And those are the people that the Biden administration say, you do not fucking deserve asylum. The Biden asylum ban, right now I'm reading from a report by the organization Human Rights First, not to be confused with Human Rights Watch. Important. So the Biden asylum ban has stranded vulnerable people in places where they are targets of kidnapping and violent assaults. And there's, in this report, there's some horrible stories, so I don't recommend reading it if you're not willing to read some very terrible stories. The Biden asylum ban renders nearly all asylum seekers who traveled through another country on their way to the U.S. southern border ineligible for asylum. And guess what? Unless you're taking a fucking direct flight, which a lot of asylum seekers are not, you traveled through a different fucking country to get to the U.S. That's how geography works. And that's, of course, how this ban is meant to work.
Well, also, I talked a little about it the other day about what he put in place. And it was like you had to apply via an app, right?
Yeah, so it's called the CBP One app, and it is just rife with fucking issues. And this is also assuming that people have a smartphone and they can download a goddamn app.
Well, that was my point. It was like most of the people showing up at the border desperate, often don't have water or food, just truly desperate people are not sitting there like, well, I got the app and I just applied. We applied actually a week ago on our smartphone.
Yeah.
And it says processing, but I don't like that is not the world in which they live.
No, and it's also complete bullshit because it acts as like a daily lottery, basically. So not only, and these are their words, glitchy and inequitable smartphone app.
I feel like glitchy and inequitable would be like description of Biden.
Touche. But
he's just sticking with brand. He's on brand.
Unfortunately, Biden, you can't just put in a new operating system. That shit is
new.
That shit was made glitchy.
No, you can't. Although Mitch McConnell had a glitch the other day.
Dude, this is really the best that the U.S. can do, folks.
Yep.
And Dianne Feinstein, did you see this? She had to be like told how to vote for the $880 billion Pentagon because she like was lost and know where the fuck she was. And then people were basically like pushing her falling apart self.
Just grabbing the dead arm and smashing it against the button.
Dude, this is our Congress. Anyway, so the Biden asylum ban, which by the way violates U.S. law and treaty obligations, has been used to rig the expedited removal process against people seeking asylum by converting what's called credible fear interviews, which were intended to ensure that refugees were not erroneously deported, as in, like, is there a credible fear to why you are seeking asylum?
What if you have a credible fear of those interviews?
Which you should, because they're fucking... what they say, these are sham screenings resulting in rapid deportation of people regardless of their eligibility for protection under U.S. law. Like the Trump administration's asylum transit ban, the Biden asylum ban has artificially driven down fear screening pass rates by unlawfully raising the standard created by Congress, with pass rates plummeting by 45%. For those barred by the asylum ban. So again, this is fucking with the numbers, just like, Trump was able to say, hey, fewer people are poor because he changed the definition of poverty. Now Biden can say, hey, fewer people are seeking asylum or getting asylum in the United States. So that's good. But it doesn't mean that that's actually what's happening at the border. In fact, it's gotten worse. And these folks have shared stories of, for instance, parents have told Human Rights First in several cases, they tie cable wires around their children at night for fear that while they sleep, the children will be abducted, abused, and potentially trafficked. That's what's happening at the border. And those are the people that the Biden administration say, you do not fucking deserve asylum. Turn your ass right back around and go back to the hellhole country that you came from, that we have summarily and will continue to destroy.
I mean, the countries aren't hellholes, but yeah.
I mean that the U.S. is making them hellholes.
We're doing
Not
all
that
we
they
can.
are hellholes.
We're doing all we can.
This is a shithole country. They are being forced to go back to countries that have been turned in either economically or through actual the US support of cartels and things like that,
Or they
have been
specifically
turned into dangerous places where people can't fucking live anymore.
or they feel specifically not safe for various reasons. But the other thing is, like, with this dumb app thing, which a judge has now struck down, they could just say, like, oh, it didn't go through, so we're not considering it because your app, like, there's no evidence. Like, the way it's supposed to work is you show up and you say, I'm here, and that's your application. Whereas if you had to apply on a phone, then they can go, oh, we never got it. Sorry. Like,
yeah. So the yes, and thank you for pointing out. I didn't mean that these countries from which they are coming are actual hellholes. They're actually beautiful countries that are being destroyed by U.S. imperialism. So that's fucked.
But the New York Times will add a filter so it looks dark.
Oh my God, that's
and
so
grim.
true. We covered that.
We covered that.
Dude, that's fucked up.
The New York Times, fairness and accuracy, for those of you who didn't see it, fairness and accuracy in reporting showed that New York Times will, like, show Venezuela and add just a dim filter over it so that you believe these places are just, like, dark and miserable.
And evil.
Because otherwise you'd take a photo even of protesters and it's like, oh, it looks like kind of a nice place.
Well, and also it reminds me of the of Lewis Black's bit about how, like, all the pictures that we get from North Korea are in black and white because they're so evil. These people don't even have color. Like,
so true.
Of course, you see, like, black and white photos and you're like, why is this, with the contrast turned all the way up? And you're like, So anyway, some good news with regards to this horrific fucking assault on human rights. A federal judge, this happened this past Tuesday, overturned, blocked this asylum ban, basically saying that this is actually kind of funny. He said, I read somewhere that 2023 was going to be a big year for sequels, but I would call this more of a remake. Because he was saying that this is basically like the Trump era transit ban, but you just gave it a different fucking name under a different administration. And so he blocked this rule. And the Biden administration has already moved to appeal the ruling. And this is, of course, like, as opposed to the Biden administration being like, right, yeah, no, that was a super fascist thing to do. We're not going to do that anymore. They're like, you know what, motherfucker? I've got some fascist shit to do, and now you're standing in the way, just like you stood in the way for Trump. But Trump and Biden are on the same side. God damn it! And so, like, of course, this is so good job, Judge John. Is it really Tiger?
John Tiger?
I mean, that's a cool. It's Tigar is his name. But if you pronounce it Tiger, that's pretty cool. Anyway, well done blocking this bullshit asylum ban. But we should absolutely keep our eyes open for what happens next, because the Biden administration is appealing. And even if this specific thing falls flat, it's not like they can't come up with something else that will absolutely affect the lives of refugees seeking asylum.
Yeah, and it goes to show how little difference there is between the two parties. So, meanwhile, CNN will tell you Biden's amazing and cares about immigrants, and MSNBC will say the same thing, and Fox News will. Biden, he allowed open borders. They're all open. They're way open. All the borders are open. And it's like, no, that's not it either.
Well, right. And this is, of course, Biden can point to this and be like, look, I made sure that a lot of people didn't get into the United States. And then both Democrats and Republicans are like, yay. Okay, so where's the opposite of that?